Okay. Okay, so this one is not for the kids, but this one's going to be, if y'all are squeamish, don't watch the video. But this one is unclean discharges from the body. Okay. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When any man has a discharge from his body, his discharge is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanness in regard to his discharge, whether his body runs with his discharge, or his body is stopped up by his discharge. It is his uncleanliness. Every bed is unclean on which he who has the discharge lies, and everything on which he sits shall be unclean. And whoever touches his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and be unclean till evening. He who sits on anything on which he who has the discharge sat shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and be unclean till evening. And he who touches the body of him who has the discharge shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and be unclean till evening. If he who has the discharge spits on him who is unclean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and be unclean till evening. Any saddle on which he who has the discharge rides shall be unclean. I'm going to pause where that, spits on somebody. And yeah, there is people today that are like that. I saw some videos on YouTube when all coronavirus is going crazy, where, some people wear masks, some people were not wearing masks. People that were wearing masks that were, oh my goodness, I'm so worried about the virus. This one gal spit on another gal for not wearing the virus. But the other gal, was originally 6 feet away from her. She wasn't anywhere near her. And so the other gal went up close to her to spit on her. I'm like, in case you ain't really that worried about the virus, you're going to get that close to somebody. Okay. Whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until evening. He who carries any of those things shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and be unclean till evening. And whomever the one who has the discharge touches, and has not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and be unclean till evening. The vessel of earth that he who has the discharge touches will be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he who has a discharge is cleaned of his discharge, then he shall count for himself 7 days for his cleansing, wash his clothes, and bathe his body in running water, then he shall be clean. On the 8th day he shall take for himself 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and give them to the priest. Then the priest shall offer them, the one as a sin offering, the other as a burnt offering. So the priest shall make atonement for him for the Lord because of his discharge. Now, back then, it was also a sanitary thing, okay? And they didn't have a lot by way of sanitation, like how we do, but they have some things. And when they're talking about atonement and all that, it's not talking about, like, oh my goodness, he did something so bad, okay? Like he murdered somebody, okay? It's not talking about that, all right? The only thing that was allowed to bleed or have any kind of discharge, okay, was sacrifice in the temple. So if you were bleeding, you could not be in the temple, and all this washing and stuff it's good. It's, healthy, hygiene, okay? So, I know this discharge is probably not blood, but what I'm talking about is still hygiene. So, if any man has any, here it is. Yeah, hygiene, okay? If any man has an emission of semen, then he shall wash all his body in water, and be unclean till evening. Okay, now it's talking about unclean till evening, You're like, what? He just took a bath. Okay, that is for the temple. Okay, you can't go to the temple until evening. Okay, and any garment and any leather on which there is semen, it shall be washed with water and be unclean to evening. Also, when a woman lies with a man and there is an emission of semen, they shall bathe in water and be unclean till evening. If a woman has a discharge, and the charge from her body is blood, she shall be set apart 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean till evening. So, now some women might think, oh, what a curse. When you're on your monthly curse, don't you want to relax and not be bothered? Think about it. You wouldn't have to go to work. You wouldn't have to do dishes around your house. You'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm on my period. I gotta be set apart. I gotta be away, taking a nap. Everything she lies on during her impurity shall be unclean. Also everything that she sits on shall be unclean. Whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean till evening. And whoever touches anything that she sat on shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean till evening. If anything is on her bed or on anything which she sits when he touches it, shall be unclean till evening. And if any man lies with her at all, so that her impurity is on him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean. If a woman has a discharge of blood for many days, other than the time of her customary impurity, your period, okay, or if it runs beyond her usual time of impurity, all the days of her unclean discharge shall be as the days of her customary impurity, she shall be unclean. Every bed on which she lies all the days of her discharge shall be to her as the bed of her impurity, and whatever she sits on shall be unclean, as the uncleanness of her impurity. Whoever touches those things shall be unclean. He shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean till evening. But if she is cleansed of her discharge, then she shall count for herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. So see, she gets even an extra 7 days. So you get 2 weeks of relaxation. Be like, I'm sorry, I can't feed the camels, honey. Oh, I'm on my period. I would love that. I'd be like, ring. Yeah, work. I can't come in for 2 weeks. I'm on my period. 2-week vacation. So, yeah. Huh. That'd be kind of nice. Especially if it's paid vacation. And on the 8th day she shall take for herself 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, and bring them to the priest to the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then the priest shall offer the one as a sin offering, and the other as a burnt offering, and the priest shall make atonement for her before the Lord for the discharge of her cleanliness. Thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, lest they die in their uncleanliness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law for the one who has a discharge, and for him who emits semen and is unclean thereby, and for her who is indisposed because of her customary impurity, and for one who has discharge, either man or woman, and for him who lies with her who is unclean. Okay. Because if you're having bleeding other than your period, there's something wrong. Okay. So, but, that was their way of keeping people safe. Like before we read about quarantining. So, but, so what if it's something like, oh my goodness, something that you can catch that can make you bleed to death. They had a bunch of different kind of diseases back then. Just like today, here we have coronavirus, now we got monkeypox. There's always something, okay? So we better not live in fear and trust God, because there's always something. Use common sense, hygiene and stuff, but other than that, just common sense. And trusting God. Because there's always going to be coronavirus, always going to be some monkeypox or some. Now, when the Ebola outbreak came out, that's when I was nervous. I was like, yeah. And I was scared for a little bit. I was, And then my mother-in-law, she helped me out. She's like, get in the Bible. I'm like, you're right. And, you know, God protected us. You know, none of us got any of that. So, but I thought, boy, like, it's going to spread and it was going to be terrible. I thought it was going to be bad. And so, but, you know, and then there was so much hype with coronavirus that, you know, it was a little scary too. You know, so, I mean, but I didn't live in fear. I still went to work, you know, when they said, you know, don't go everywhere when we were on lockdown and stuff. We did that. But, you know, wear masks, got shots, but, you know, um, common sense stuff. That's why you don't have smallpox anymore. That's why you don't have, I forget what you call it. It was in the 50s. Polio. I saw a video on polio. Polio was a lot worse than coronavirus. Polio made coronavirus look like a baby. You know, I mean, they closed down towns. Okay, if we were back in the days of polio, okay, Del City, 10 minutes away from us, we wouldn't be able to go 10 minutes to Del City because they'd be like, sorry, we're locked down. You ain't getting in this town. It was what it was. So, you know, there's always going to be something. Take your precautions. Do what you gotta do. Hygiene. All that stuff. Other than that, enjoy your life. Go to work. Do what you gotta do. You know. So, yeah. But anyway, that's that for right now.